this evening. Congratulations to the Cable Committee and to Mike Corey for making that possible. Thank you so much. Yes, indeed. Thank you, Elaine. So please do keep that in mind this evening, and we welcome your comments and opinions, but please try to make them G-rated if possible. Thank you. So, first order of business on the agenda for this, the Select Board meeting for April 28th, is a salute to the American flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
I make a motion we approve the agenda.
With an
I second that.
Discussion being, do we wish to add an addition of the plan? I guess the planning board appointment doesn't need to be made.
Right.
Great. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Great.
I make a motion we approve the minutes of the last meeting. Second.
Any discussion?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Under old business, we have none. Under new business, we have a public hearing on proposed changes to the recall ordinance. Copies can be found here for those of you who might not have one. So we will open it up to the floor for any comments that the public may have regarding the proposed changes. Please do note on your paper copies that the change is in section 9 and it is underlined. There's a strike through on old language and underlining of new suggested language in its place. So does the public have any comment about these proposed changes? Please come to the microphone, Elaine.
I'm just going to suggest that since we're live, perhaps the people that are viewing it at home would like to know what the change is.
Sure. Okay. It's our recall ordinance, and prior to the existing ordinance is Section 9, interim powers. The official whose recall is sought shall have all those powers and duties of the office until a duly elected replacement has been sworn in. The proposal is to strike that, to change the title of Section 9 to incumbent to continue duties during recall process, and for the language to read as follows. The incumbent, unless he or she has submitted a written resignation to the Selectmen, shall continue to perform the duties of the office until the results of the recall election are certified. If not recalled, the official shall continue in office for the remainder of the unexpired term. If recalled, the official shall be deemed to be removed from office upon the certification of the election results. Any further comments, questions? Mr. Long.
In doing this, have you considered changing the ordinance so that there's some justification for a recall, legal rather than personal?
Yes, we have, Mr. Long, and our original draft did include language for that, but it did not pass legal review. Our the MMA, and we expect to hear the same from our town attorney, advised us very strongly to not include that language, that language was not appropriate in the recall ordinance and that it should not be there.
So you shouldn't have to have a legal reason to recall somebody?
That is, the idea is that all reasons are legal if you pass a recall ordinance.
So in other words, if you get enough people that sign the recall order, you don't want say it's a selectman, you don't want the selectman to have the opportunity to say, no, this shouldn't go forward to the floor. With having no reasons, it automatically has to go to the floor. The selectmen have no choice but not to sign it. If there are reasons, then they could try and say, well, it doesn't meet this, it doesn't meet that. So they said that we can't have any reasons at all.
So there really doesn't need to be any legitimacy to it?
There does not need to be any more legitimacy than the people that are signing the petition believe there to be.
And it requires 10% of the vote of the most recent governor election. So however many people voted at the last governor election, there has to be at least 10% have signed that petition.
I guess, I don't know, I was hoping that we've only had one recall, and the reasons were false, and time has proven that most of it was false. And I would just like to think that the elected officials in this town would have some kind of protection against a recall just because one of you say something that somebody doesn't like.
That is not, thank you, Mr. Long. Any other comments about the proposed changes? Mr. Kelly?
I don't know, maybe I heard it wrong, but I just on the signatures, you said 10% of the gubernatorial, but it says here no less than 100, correct?
Oh, that's our,
It says equal to 10% of the number of votes cast in the last gubernatorial election, but in all cases no fewer than 100. So even if we have an election that for some reason only 900 people vote in, you still need to have 100 signatures at least.
Yeah, that's okay. Thank you.
Yep. Any other comments or questions regarding the proposed changes to the recall ordinance? Seeing none, does anyone want to close this out?
I make a motion, we conclude the public hearing and move on to regular selectmen's meeting.
Second.
All in favor? You in favor?
Yes.
Excellent, thank you.
Let them do the fires.
Yes, let's start off just to kind of calm people's minds and not only in the forum but also out in the general public. We're going to kind of take our agenda a little bit out of order and go to Bill for an announcement regarding last night's, well, the activities really of the last few days.
I assume you're talking about the fire department.
I am.
Okay, everybody knows that we had 7 fires, I guess, last night. To start off with, to ease people's worry, the individual is being held at the hospital right now under medical evaluation is the fellow that was responsible for all 7 random fires last night. He is being evaluated in the hospital right now. Can't say much else because the investigation is still going on. However, the public is not in any danger at all from this particular individual, and hopefully will calm anybody that is worried about a firebug running around town. He's under evaluation right now. To give the fire department its due, it's interesting, they've been working very hard. On the 21st of April, they had a med call to Goose Pond, and then they were called from Goose Pond to 7th Street in Lower Mousom, where there were 2 cottages and 3 outbuildings burned to the ground. And I mean burned to the ground. I went and looked at the place down there, and that fire was very hot. There was a lot of propane tanks involved and gasoline tanks, and it melted outboard engines. So if you go down there, you're going to see molten puddles of aluminum on the ground. It was quite a fire. Once they got done with that, they got a call from Lebanon for a barn fire. And the entire crew didn't return to home until 2 o'clock in the morning. So the fire department really had a tough day then. To give you an idea of the size of the flames and the fire, Acton responded, Shapley responded, Lebanon responded, and Wakefield responded to this. And it was quite a fire. On April 22nd, Lorraine had her accident, and the ambulance took her to the hospital. On 4/27, which was yesterday, we had the 7 fires, which pulled out, I believe, 70 firemen and 50 police personnel responded to this thing. And as I say, they do have an individual that is currently under medical evaluation who is responsible for all 7 fires. So that's just to give a few flowery thank yous to the fire department. They really have been extended quite a bit recently.
Anything else? regarding fires?
On fires, no.
Okay. And just in case people get the wrong idea, the fire department did not go and just watch the 5 buildings burn to the ground. They were instrumental in making sure that the fire did not spread to the year-round residences that were adjacent to the camps that did burn. So,
Yeah, if it was the problem with the wind, actually. If it had been any drier, I think all of Acton would have burned. But the wind, blew this thing up from a small little grass fire to a cottage fire in minutes. It was really spectacular.
thank you, Bill. Okay, moving on to Part B, the revaluation update. We, as a board, met with the O'Donnell brothers, both John and Mike O'Donnell, today, to give an update about where we stand in our revaluation process. Our board spent 2 hours learning the mechanics of a revaluation and trying to work together with the O'Donnells about setting where we're heading with the revaluation. What do we want to see happening? They are completed with their first visits to people's homes. They have started their second visits at people's requests. And we are still on schedule to have the letters going out to the public with their proposed property assessments in midsummer, and those meetings to take place in late summer, so that we are still on target to commit taxes and send out tax bills no later than September 1st. Anything else anybody wants to add from that meeting? No? Okay. So really still very much enjoying working with the O'Donnells. Really thorough people. They've been doing a great job for us. Section C, we have an appointment.
I make a motion, we appoint Art Kelly as a full voting member of the planning board.
Second.
Any discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Okay, and we're going to need to sign that appointment after our meeting because of our change up there, so.
Right.
The next one is we have a debit card policy, which I'm supposed to have in my pile, and I don't have. And we're live. So, here's what we're going to do.
I'll get the policy.
Excellent, Ted. And do you mind, Ted, if we move on to our announcements so we're not dead air?
Not at all.
Wonderful. Welcome to live television, everyone. We have our ongoing announcement of volunteers are needed to serve on the cable committee. It continues to be the case, looking for volunteers who are interested in filming meetings, especially with the added excitement of going live. Think of all that could happen during that. Please make note of May 5th. There will be a planning board sponsored public hearing on proposed zoning changes, and that will be on the floor at town meeting on June 11th. I'm being shown a sign that says Acton Public Access Television. I'm not sure why Mike Curry is doing that, but okay. Also, because of Lorraine's accident, and we will certainly give an update on Lorraine, she's doing well, and we expect to have her back with us in a few weeks. But general assistance is no longer available during all office hours at the town hall. People will need to call and make an appointment, and we will be seeing general assistance requests between 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock on Thursday afternoons. So the public is encouraged to call and make an appointment for that if they need to. Fire permits were another specialty of Lorraine's. For the time being, fire permits are available directly from Fire Chief Ed Walsh, and they are also available at the Milton Mills Variety Store, which is right over the border into Milton Mills. If you go down Hopper Road, cross over Hopper Dam, and cross into Milton Mills Road on Western Avenue, you will see Milton Mills Variety Store in front of you. Robin Ham is one of our firefighters, and he is at that store. So those will be available there. And I guess while we're continuing to wait, we'll give the Lorraine update. I went and visited with Lorraine yesterday. She looks good. She is a trooper as always. She is very thankful to the people that helped get her to the hospital safely. She's very thankful that her grandchildren in the car are safe, unhurt, and she's thankful to be alive herself. She is feeling very thankful in general. She is in a lot of pain. The right shoulder ball was crushed, and she is in a lot of pain, but she does expect to have back movement of her arms, And so we are looking forward to her return in a few weeks, but we are happy to have her take the time she needs to become fully recovered. If anyone wishes to send cards of good wishing, she is staying with her grandson right now, so you can send them to 110 Yetton Lane, Acton, Maine, 04001. So, thank you. Welcome back, Ted.
Thank you.
Going back to our regularly scheduled agenda, we have, as letter D, we have a debit card policy, which reads as follows. Town of Acton policy on use of town debit card. Debit cards are issued to the treasurer and the office manager/deputy treasurer and are kept on site in the safe until needed. The balance in the bank account that the debit card is attached to shall maintain a minimum balance at all times until needed, which shall be equal to or less than $25. When the need for use of the debit card arises, the office manager shall request a transfer of funds from the treasurer into the account based on the estimated cost of the purchase. The office manager shall receive a signature from at least 2 selectmen authorizing use of the debit card. The treasurer will then transfer the funds approved into the debit card account. Following the purchase of approved items, a warrant attachment will be included with the weekly warrant showing said purchases and invoice receipts for the Board of Selectmen to review.
I make a motion, we accept as written.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Great. And the 2 gentlemen signed it, so I'll just put this in the pile. Any other business this evening? Mr. Lopez?
I'd like to get back to new business and B on the evaluation update. Can you give us a synopsis of the feeling of what they're talking about, being that the majority of homes are now underwater, of how it's somewhat going since you met with the group that is doing the review?
Are you asking about what we think their assessment values are going to come in at?
Yeah, in general.
We did discuss that at length, and we are still waiting to see what that's going to come out with. They're still working on the tables, and the biggest concern is the equity of the assessments. So that is where their primary concern is going to be, that the equity between property owners is held up to be the most important part. They are not sure yet what those figures will be. Neither are we. We will see them when we get closer to the time, and they need some more time to work on the tables where they come up with the values.
That would affect, though, their final numbers, I would assume.
What would affect?
The equity of...
The idea of the revaluation can also be called a property tax equalization. Okay, so their goal is to make the property taxes as equal and fair as possible. And that's what they're working on right now, and their final values will be what happens after that equalization has taken place. But it should be important to remember that the assessment values really are not so important as the equalization, because if you are assessed at $100,000, then you're not going to pay more taxes necessarily. It's a question of assessment and tax rate. So if the town as a whole drops in assessed value, it simply means that the town as a whole has a higher tax rate. That's how so does that make sense?
If I take a look, once the final comes out with the reval, it's just going to be on an individual basis, like the letters that we get on our own personal homes, or are we going to get also a generalization of the entire town and how that?
When they're completed with this, their program allows everything to be on the internet. So the whole town, everybody's picture of their home, the valuation, everything will be on the internet. So you'll be able to look at everybody else's property in the town. So if you want to compare, like a like house, you can look up that house and see whether they're taxed the same as you.
Also, there will be a large presentation, yes. When we get through the whole thing, we at one of our board meetings will certainly let the town know that we have finished the process, that this is where we are standing with the process at the same time that the letters are going out, so that the town will see the overall revaluation process and see that it is complete.
Okay, I was just wondering if they were going to do it on a regional basis also. No?
No.
Okay.
Dennis Long. I don't remember if it was 4 or 6 weeks ago I asked the question what we were paying the cable manager. Have you got an answer to that yet?
Just gave him a raise, it's what, 20?
Yep.
20.
I think it is 20, yes.
Yeah. He was raised up to $20,000.
$20,000?
Starting on the new fiscal year.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing is, and I don't know if this is a rumor or not, are we getting a new flagpole for the town hall?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
My question about that would be the existing flagpole has quite a history and aesthetic value to the town hall. Are we going to leave that in place?
No, I talked to Hannah when we decided to look into this, because we were having a lot of flags getting ripped and hung up on the building and everything, and I think it was for Memorial Day. No, I wasn't in here.
It was Veterans.
Veterans Day. The flag, we couldn't even get it down. I had to bring the fire department up. So we started looking into it. So I approached Hannah, and she explained to me that she made that as a girl in 4-H with her mother, and then her mother donated it. And I asked her how she felt about it coming down, and she was actually kind of excited about it, because her flagpole that she made at the same time that she has at her farm had been ruined in a windstorm. So we're going to take it down, and Hannah's going to take it to her grandmother's farm, which is now her farm, and she's going to replace it with the one that she made with her mother. So it was kind of near and dear to her, so that's what our intention is to do with it.
Well, I think it's near and dear to a lot of people in the town.
Yeah.
You know, not just her. But regardless, so you can buy a new flagpole, and the approximate cost of that is going to be
$1,500 plus.
So what I'd like to do is go back to last fall, when we had the conversation about fixing some things on the town hall that was the will of the town meeting to take care of. There was clearly in the budget that the town meeting approved, and one was replacing the rest of the siding on the north end of the building and getting that painted. The other thing is we've had push bars for these exit doors, one for the library and one for this door out here that has been here about a year now and still hasn't been installed. We've had electric heat in the bathroom on site that needs to be installed, which hasn't been done yet. And last fall when we talked about this, I believe it was you, Ted, that was kind of concerned over the furnace, and we didn't know what kind of expense we was going to have with the furnace.
Right.
So you were kind of conservative at that time, and you were going to wait and see what happened with the furnace,
right,
to see if you had the money. Whether people voted to get some of this stuff done with this year's budget, is your intentions to still to do this or not?
We've been waiting on the weather for the siding issue. Okay, we have a crew of people coming in to deal with the siding, get it scraped and painted.
It was budgeted to replace the top half of the siding so that wall would be completed and we wouldn't have to bother with it again.
We will have to look into that, Dennis,
There
because
was $1,000 budgeted for the cedar siding.
we will have to look into where that's coming from, but we do have, for the parts that need to be scraped and the new parts that need to be painted, we have that ready to go. We have dealt with the ramp issue that was a problem, and I don't see how the flagpole and the floor has been refinished as well. The intent is to mostly get the siding dealt with this spring and early summer, because that is the most important that we can see. The push bars, they should be put up. You are correct, Mr. Long. And I'm sure that our board can deal with that in the next few weeks here.
I guess as far as the ramp, one of the ramps that was concerned was the one out here. According to code enforcement, it doesn't meet the ADA code. It's too steep, and it was budgeted to put a concrete ramp. You go out towards the H Road and then take a left-hand turn up the hill, and you take the steepness out, and take that metal ramp and put it out here, so that also meets code as far as a fire exit. And the other thing that was in the works, part of the budget, was, as you know, by looking at the front of the library, that ramp down there is pretty well dilapidated, and that was also going to be replaced.
These will have to be looked into, Mr. Long. The warrant does not actually lay out what the maintenance projects were to be done. The warrant just gives a dollar figure. We have spent quite a bit of that dollar figure, and we have asked all departments to be on a spending freeze to try to keep cash flow correct. So that is kind of where we have been heading from, is from what needs to get done right now for us to continue to function, and what can we wait and see about happening. So I think that is where some of this has gotten delayed, is in.
Well, I appreciate the warrant doesn't specifically say what the intent of the money was, but through the budget process with the Warrant Finance Committee and different meetings, it was clearly explained what the extra money in the maintenance account was for.
Thank you, Mr. Long.
I just wanted to update a couple of things. I was in here last month about the dam, and at the time you had said to me the tax rate would go up on 100,000, 18 cents. I figured out with my taxes, which are over $2,600 a year, it would cost me another $44 and change. The other thing was the special tax districts. I did some research. I couldn't find any in Maine. And I looked at the Maine Constitution, and if you look at Article 9, Section 8, it's unlawful. In other words, when you tax somebody, you have to tax everyone equally. If you decided to do repairs and create a special tax district for Square Pond, Loon Pond, you'd have to do it for everyone. And like I say, I couldn't find any special tax districts.
Well, we didn't. If you remember the conversation, Mr. Kelly, I simply said that was what had been suggested to us that we disagreed with.
That was another thing that you had actually said that to him. He didn't say it to you. You said you had discussed it amongst the board about a special tax district. Okay, so I checked with someone else who was at the meeting. So.
As they're not recorded, Mr. Kelly, I do not wish to go into a he said, she said
discussion. Anyway, I just wanted to give you, like I say, my taxes will go up about $44 over 10 years on $100,000. Thank you.
Any other business? Okay. Anyone have any other announcements that they wish to make?
No, I don't think so, no.
Okay.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I will second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Meeting adjourned.
All right, have to be...